Hello, this is Dazzling One, and this week I'll be covering mass demonic possession. So, a couple weeks ago in Colombia, there were 22 schoolgirls who suffered a case of mass demonic possession after trying to summon an evil spirit while playing the game Charlie Charlie. The girls aged between 12 and 15, and they all took ill in the Choco region of Colombia and were filmed screaming and writhing on the floor in some chilling footage. Other victims were foaming at the mouth while experiencing hallucinations, and another even claimed she could see a man dressed in black. According to Colombian television network Caracol, the girls were taken to a medical center in Novita where they had to be restrained while fighting. The schoolgirls, who were all found to be suffering the same symptoms, first experienced seizures while at school after they had finished playing the Charlie Charlie game. The game, which is an updated version of the Spanish game Juego de la Lapicera, involves two pencils balanced on top of each other over a grid with words yes and no. Participants ask questions to an unseen entity and wait for the top pencil to move and point to the one of the two answers on the sheet of paper. The news site reported that 4 teenagers initially took ill before more followed suit. They were all later taken to the hospital to be treated. Dr. Jair Ruiz recalled the moment they arrived. He said they came in screaming, mumbling incoherently, hallucinating, and foaming at the mouth. A number of medical tests were conducted, and doctors ruled out the possibility of disease, intoxication, or use of hallucinogenic substances. No consistent health problems were detected, and the girls' vital signs eventually returned to normal. Local Mayor Deler Camacho spoke to villagers following the incident and asked them to remain calm. Meanwhile, a local pastor has started praying against witchcraft. This is not the first time a group of Colombian schoolgirls have been admitted to a medical center with similar symptoms after playing Charlie Charlie. In 2015, 4 hysterical teenagers were sent to a hospital in Tunja for treatment. They received a diagnosis of mass hysteria with some psychotic symptoms and were later sent home. So, if that story isn't strange enough, I cannot stress to you more that games like the Charlie Charlie that might seem harmless and like another pop culture trend which comes and goes are dangerous. You should never try to summon a spirit. This stuff is very real despite what most people may believe, and what happened with these girls can happen with anyone. In June of this year, in China, I know this is not a case of mass demonic possession, but this video is floating around the internet and I wanted to cover it. A woman was walking along a shopping aisle in China when a package fell after shaking on a shelf to the floor. She turned around to pick it up and put it back on the shelf, but as she did, she suddenly dropped it and began convulsing and moaning and fell to her knees. A concerned bystander cautiously approached her before she let out a frightening scream, and the bystander recoiled in fear. A second onlooker tried to comfort her before a sudden convulsion, and another almighty house sent him flying backwards. He regrouped and began to try to help her with a meditation exercise, but she let out another shriek, and the security camera blurred, and the store shelves shook. The woman finally calmed down as 3 bystanders ushered her away. The package fell to the ground once more. Some people who have analyzed this clip believe that this woman was possessed by a demon. Others say she had an epileptic fit, and others think that this was all staged by actors. Either way, more and more of these incidents are being caught on camera. In Argentina, there was a woman on a bus who was traveling through the city of San Luis in central Argentina one night. She began exhibiting some alarming symptoms. A passenger that was filming her caught her head lolling around, and she began to speak in a deep, masculine, demonic voice. She sat in her seat shouting unintelligible words in a terrifying voice. At one point, a fellow passenger approached her to try to confront her, but she seemed to ignore him and continued to thrash around. Witnesses said the woman vomited and appeared to be possessed by an evil spirit. The bus driver was forced to stop the bus so that the terrified passengers could get off, and the woman remained alone on the bus until police officers arrived and took her into custody. In Spain that same month, there was disturbing footage that appeared to show a woman being possessed by an evil spirit, and she was lying strapped down in the back of an ambulance and seemed to be having some sort of seizure. She was hooked up to intravenous drip, her eyes rolled wildly, and she lurched back and forth as she strained against the binds. Another woman who appeared to be a nurse called her name and clapped loudly in an attempt to snap Carmela out of it, but instead the disturbed woman raised her head and bared her teeth and said in a terrifying low voice, she's going to hell. She threw her head back down on the bed between each phrase and writhed as the nurse laid a calm hand on her shoulder, but to no avail as Carmela's possession was not finished. "This girl does not exist now," she cried hoarsely. "It doesn't exist." Alarmed by the bizarre sight, a woman off camera asked, "Is she giving birth?" She didn't receive an answer. However, Carmela plows on with worrying spiel, "My father is coming for him." She shakes her head from side to side before fixing the nurse with a horrifying glare. "He is mine. He is for me." Throughout, she exuded an air of desperation and panic, but it was never clear what exactly Carmela was afflicted with. So just another strange clip. I'll put the links in the description box to each of these stories and the videos that go with them. Another case of mass demonic possession that occurred this year was in Peru back in May. 8 school children were treated for symptoms of demonic possession. A shocking video showed pupils who were barely conscious repeatedly screaming and who appeared to be delirious. Dr. Antoni Choi told national channel Panamericana TV, "We don't understand how this has kept going on. We know it started on April 29th and now it is still happening. Now there are almost 80 pupils still affected." Elsa de Pizango, a concerned mother whose daughter has experienced some of the symptoms, said she fainted in school. They didn't say anything at the hospital, she just fainted. She keeps spitting froth from her mouth. Describing her experience, a pupil not named in local media said, "It's disturbing for me to think about it. It's as if someone kept on chasing me from behind. It was a tall man, all dressed in black, and with a big beard, and it felt like he was trying to strangle me. My friends say I was screaming desperately, but I don't remember much." Another girl said she had trouble breathing and was desperately holding her neck as if someone was strangling her. According to her friend, she kept screaming, "Take it out." Another anonymous girl, aged 13, told local media several children from different classrooms fainted at the same time. "I got nauseous and started vomiting. I heard voices. A man in black chased me and wanted to touch me." Franklin Steiner, a parapsychologist who investigates paranormal and psychic phenomena, said, "It is known that years ago there were many victims of terrorism here when the school was built. Some say bones and dead bodies were found. Locals believe this is a case of demonic interference, saying some children may have played games that invoke demons, such as using a Ouija board. A Ouija board is marked with letters and numbers, and some use it in the belief that they will be able to communicate with souls of the dead. As of yet, there has been no rational or official explanation for the phenomenon." So again, another story where you have school children who are being afflicted by demons, and the only diagnosis there is really is mass hysteria. And one interesting parallel is that they claim to see a man in all black. In April of this year, in Malaysia, there were students that claimed they were seeing evil spirits such as a female vampiric ghost. The incident of mass hysteria saw 20 students sent home from one school. One teacher also complained of being physically pinned down by a specter, and religious leaders have been invited into schools to remove the bad spirits. It has triggered an outbreak of mass hysteria, with pupils and teachers claiming to have been possessed by an evil spirit roaming school corridors. Now a picture has emerged that claims to have captured the black specter that has apparently been terrorizing children across Malaysia. Taken by a pupil, the image appears to show a dark figure peering out from behind a pillar in an empty schoolroom. The apparition has been blamed for mass hysteria epidemic, in which students claim they are having visions of female vampiric ghosts and are being physically pinned down by evil spirits, called body possession phenomenon. One bizarre incident saw 20 female students sent home from a single school after complaining of being overwhelmed by it. Reporters attempting to speak with students at one school were not allowed entry, but heard screams coming from inside classrooms. Education chiefs in the Kota Baru region are now using shamans and religious leaders to try and clear the school of the supposed bad spirits, the Straits Times reported. The latest school to be struck by the hysteria was SMK Pengkalan Chipa, which avoided spreading it by sending 5 female students home for the day. Those affected by the bizarre hysteria claim to be overwhelmed by bad spirits and sea spirits such as Pontianak, a type of female vampiric ghost popular in Malaysian folklore. Pontianaks are said to be the spirits of women who died while giving birth who return to prey on men. Teacher Norlewati Ramili, 32, even claimed she felt something pinning her down after she tended to a student who was complaining of seeing demons. Wiru Sankala, a traditional medicine expert, told the website the hot weather and earlier reports of the hysteria were perpetrating the problem. So, just those few stories this year, I don't find it surprising that they're not too far apart. Again, around these times, back in April and in June, there were rituals done. There was the Arch of Triumph in London, and then there was the ritual at the Godhard Tunnel. And with these rituals, I believe it is opening portals for more spirits. And also something I learned whenever I did the video on black magic and spiritual warfare over a year ago, I discussed how magic was really the manipulation of energy, and those within the occult believe that they can manipulate it and that they can gather energy from certain areas. And they believe that one ball of energy can influence a room of people. So when I look at this one ball of energy, I see it as something spiritual, that it only takes 1 or 2 spirits to influence an entire group of people. Also, if you've ever seen movies like Fallen with Denzel Washington, where the demon Azazel is passed on through touch, it has a similar feel to that. They also illustrated that in the first season of Sleepy Hollow, and I do believe that there are spirits that are transferred through touch, and as the times get darker, people who are not protected are more susceptible to these spirits. And this is why it's, again, more important than ever to have the Holy Spirit, to be walking with Christ, because if you're not, you could succumb to this. And what I find interesting about this mass hysteria and about this mass demonic possession is, what if this was employed even to cause chaos here in America with all of the tension rising? So again, our wrestle is not against flesh and blood, but principalities and rulers of darkness in high places. And we should always seek Christ, put on the full armor, and again take every thought captive, and through the name of Jesus or Yeshua and through the blood of Christ, we can cast out these spirits, and we should not be afraid of them, but be aware, because the world is denying them, and they're saying that it's just insanity, it's just mental illness, and you can say that, but it doesn't take the problem away. There are still people dealing with these spirits. They are very real, and the more evil is unleashed on this world, the more wickedness occurs, and just as the Antichrist time nears, we're going to see more of this. It's going to be the new norm, and this is why there's more and more of these stories popping up. So I just wanted to cover this, and I'd like to know your thoughts. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care, and Yahweh bless you.